that kind of a shaitel head. So the Taz in Yoreh De'ah says about Tzuros Rosh, if you had like a head dummy, he quotes the Prisha, Kosu b'Shem Rashal, the Bismag Noitel Isser, Afilu b'Partzuf Adam Levad. It means if it was a full body, that would be more of a problem. But he's bringing the Prisha and the Smag, who suggest that even the head. Mazel tov, yeah. Mazel tov, a new Kohen. A new Kohen.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly.
Right?
We are on page 69.
Oh, thank you.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
Oh, thank you, Susie.
Now, the Achronim debate whether one who wishes to be stringent may object to others taking photographs of himself. We see many pictures of Rebbes, they used to shoo people away, not wanting to have their picture taken. What is that based on? It was based on what we went through last week. We developed the Shitas of the Rishonim. Some held it had to be bolate. Some, if it was flat, it would be permitted. So now that we're well versed with that original, the Rishonim, so Rav Menashe Klein, who's known as Menashe HaKotten, or the Mishnah Halachos, he was involved in the original Eruv here in Los Angeles. One has the right, states that one has the right to prevent others from photographing him. But Rav Nissim Karelitz, who's a posek in Eretz Yisrael, in Bnei Brak, holds that one has no such right. And especially in today's times, in any case, most people are not stringent about this matter. Let's see the Mishnah Halachos. They asked him, can a person refuse to let somebody photograph him? He answers, it's no shaila, it's no question that if he is of the opinion that he will never allow himself to be photographed, so he can object to others photographing him. He doesn't have to allow somebody that if he holds it's an isser, that doesn't have to let somebody do it. That means if from the next world he won't have reward. But let's say someone who is not necessarily particular about being photographed, or and they will have pictures taken of them with a family, right? He still says that they could prevent it from being photographed. Ubar min din nira, and even though from a din point of view, the yesh b'zegam mishum gezel, that you might think that there's also theft, like property, intellectual theft. Person could sell the rights to being photographed.
So those Rebbe's cards that they had, you mean they have to get individual rights for each single picture there?
They had to agree to be photographed. The Kabel Schar al Zeh.
There's two different sheetas.
Nimsa maz.
Yes. Is some of the rabbis say, take a picture of me. If it's machazik you to look at a picture of me, go ahead, take a picture with your family, come, But by Rabarula, they don't want anyone taking a picture of them because they have a shita that once someone takes a picture of them, it exists in the world, and when they die, they have to recover all those pictures of them afterwards.
Okay, but
So they don't permit people to take pictures.
But
They
this-
don't let you walk and take
but
camera.
but this sugya is in this area because of Hilchos Avodah Zarah. Remember, we started last week with the Rishonim discussing whether either a statue or a picture, depends if it was bolate or not. So this falls into that realm. That means, is it an isser? So nimsa maziko b'mamon. So he's potentially being damaged monetarily because he's letting somebody take a picture and he's not getting paid for it. Hi, Larry. Ayin b'shur beis Yitzchak Yoreh De'ah chelik beis she'asur la'atik chidush Torah michtav yored shalom shelo b'shus. Let's say a person is writing chidushei Torah. You're not allowed to lean over, look what he's writing, and copy it. There is a concept of copyright. You're stealing something. It's intellectual property theft, even from Yoreh De'ah. Im osur l'tzalim ksav chaver shelo b'rshus, if you can't sort of copy what your friend has written without permission, you can't take a picture of it, kol sheken gufo. He wants it to kal v'chomer, certainly his body, he has a right to prevent you from taking a picture of it. There is no theft in looking of a letzalem osur b'li rishuso, but he paskins. This is the Mishnah Halachos, the Menashe Klein, contemporary posting. Now Rav Nissim Karel, it's on page 70, says Lahanach poskim the tmunas adam af im eno shokas nami osur. That means even if it's not sunken in. Remember, we had a sheet, if it's sunken or bolate, it's a problem. So even according to those people who says that a flat picture is also osur, and mehai time and nimnu agdolim litztalem, there were gedolim that prevented themselves from taking pictures of themselves because of that issue, because of the issue of avodah zarah. And why? A person's not allowed to make such a drawing. The person taking the picture is in fact being oiver naveira. So the gadol who's allowing his picture to be taken by the person, he's over a lifnei iver lo siten michshol. You can't give a glass of wine to a nazir. So the same thing, by allowing him, since you're not allowed to have your picture, since a person is not allowed to paint a picture of somebody, even if it's flat, according to this shita, the Gedolim didn't want people taking their picture because the person taking the picture would be over an Aveira. And they are over a Lifnei Iver for allowing that to happen. So this is only according to those that say that there's no difference between whether it's flat or not. But that's actually taking the picture. If somebody handed you a picture taken already, you're allowed to keep it. Like we had that last week. It's not something that you have to get rid of. You're allowed to retain it. That's point number one he brings. And osam she'enam nosnim l'tsalem esatzmon, those machmirim that don't let their picture taken. Mikol mokom medine choshen mishpat yefshel lesol chaver l'tzamo. He argues with the Mishnah Halachos. He says you don't have any monetary right to prevent somebody from taking a picture. So he doesn't feel that there's a momendika loss. HaChazon Ish, right, passed away in 1954. Lo hirshel etzalmo b'metzalme. He did not allow photographs taken of him. Ela in kain letzorach gadol ve'al yedei goy. He was makpid that should be done by a non-Jew, because we said for a Jew to do it, it's like you're painting something which we said may be osur. He said kagon letzorach passport. For example, when he went for a passport, he would allow his picture to be taken. And many other great rabbis did that in previous generations. Now, the mitzamos didon with our digital cameras, uberprat mitzamos digitaliet, ha'olam lo machmirim b'zekeh Ramban. We're not machmir like the Ramban. Remember, the Ramban was the only one who was machmir that a flat picture even of a face. But perhaps because of the sheet of the Ramban, they were concerned about it. Anyways.
Is the difference between digital and film because of just how ubiquitous it is, or is it because the medium is somehow different and therefore don't have the same concern about the type of image?
Yeah, because you're not, it could be because it's just electronic. So it could be, it's not a, you're not printed, it's like a piece of art that was created.
It could be printed.
What do you, what other nafkamina do you see? That's the evanescence of it, the fact that it is here today, gone tomorrow, it can be deleted, it's just a digital picture is taken, it's sent to someone, you don't print
But
this.
it can be more ubiquitous than how many
Security
copies of
cameras.
picture?
Forget
Oh,
that.
right,
Security
you're always on
cameras.
camera, yeah.
You go
But
to-
at least this issue had a problem with it as an avodah zarah.
Right, yeah.
So, okay. There is we're on page 71. There's a dispute among the Achron.
Actually, good question. Is the issue taking the photograph? Or is the issue printing it, developing and printing it? Taking the photograph is not, I don't think it's an issue. The issue is creation of a photograph.
The image, yeah.
So taking a picture is not a big deal. It's the fact that you can convert it to film and do something.
Yeah, but if you took the
if you have it on your
picture,
screen
if you
and
took
you
the
know
picture
somebody-
and sent it to a lab and it comes back to you, you did it. There
wants to collect all those pictures and somewhere in the cloud.
There's a dispute among the Achronim whether it is permitted to make or even buy children's dolls due to the prohibitions of creating and retaining certain images. As a doll consists of an entire body in the form of a person, which is prohibited according to Shulchan Aruch. Rav Avodia Yosef is lenient in both making and buying dolls. Rav Nissen Karel is prohibited making dolls, so you couldn't make it yourself, but permits retaining them. And the Shevet HaLevi prohibited even retailing dolls unless one deforms it in some form. So if you go into many homes, you'll see the doll, they'll poke out the eye, or they'll make a mark on it. They'll take a nose off. So let's see what the Ovadia Yosef says. They asked the Yechavedas, can you buy for a child a doll that's made according to the human features, and the features are raised, right? They're not flat, right? The dolls are three-dimensional.
Who's the
So
Chavedas?
this is the Rav Ovadia Yosef.
No, it's not, you're not, okay, go ahead. He has-
Masechta Avodah Zarah, Mavur, we learned the source last week. She'asur la'asos tzuras adam boletes. You cannot make the human form that is in relief, right, that sticks out, it's not flat. V'das Rabbeinu Moshe Mikutzi, b'sefer mitzvos asmag, shafilu parts of adam bolet b'li aguf ein lasos. He was machmer and said, even a human face, without the whole body, if it was bolet, that means if it was sticking out, it would be asur as well. Ulama Tosfos v'harosh b'avodah zarah sham. We learned it last week. Kosfu shelo asru b'gemara asiyas andarti ela mishum shehitzel demus adam echol gufo. The problem there was a whole body statue. Aval tzuras hapartzuf bilvad below guf mutter. Tosfos says b'feirush that the picture of a face by itself, even if it was bolate, would be permitted. V'afili yitzur boletas. V'chein kosav ha-Mordechai sham. The Mordechai is a major rishon on the Gemara. V'chein posuk maran b'Shulchan Aruch Yoredeya. And eventually, when the Shulchan Aruch paskined, that's he came it down. Baram calls the Barsias parts of Adam Boleit Lenoi. That's if something is done for beauty. You want to put something up for
To admire it.
Kigon Andarti, Kiyotz Bezesh, Yitzur Kvua. Aval Bubos Asuyas L'tzorch Tinokos L'sachik Behen, but for dolls that children are going to play with, Nira She'en Basiyasam Shum Isser. There is no Isser at all making dolls. The Kosher Ken Shemuter L'knos, you certainly can buy them. Ula
Maybe
Hashoysim
like a
Bershuso.
collector's item doll to display, maybe not.
What do you want, an American doll?
Because that would be Lenoy.
Yeah. that would-
According to the, only
Only
according to the
the
Shitas, it said it was bought, but you have Tosfos to rely on. Uviyichud lifnei masha kosvu ha-Tosfos in Avodah Zarah, in the Dibra Maskal Rav Yehuda Shemizbar b'divrei shekol ikar yisur b'zehu mishum chashad Avodah Zarah. V'il gabi bubus, when it comes to dolls, hakol yorim she'en b'zeh shum strach shel Avodah Zarah. Nobody's worshiping that as an Avodah Zarah. V'miyuchad b'zmanein, certainly in our time. However,
My weight on Pesach was from Haiti.
on the bottom, in 1988, Rav Ovadia Yosef said it is prohibited to fashion dolls. Those people buy their children dolls to play with, have whom to rely on.
Footnote.
However, it is preferable to be stringent and not buy dolls that have a full human form with all the limbs and organs. Rather, one should purchase only one with the top part of the body, or a doll that can only be seen from one side. One is permitted to do business with this merchandise, buying and selling, even with dolls that have full human form, but one should not manufacture them. So he makes a chiluk between making them and selling them. And those factories that make these, who says that they are doing so with the will of the Chachamim, one who acts on this should be told to act stringently. Nevertheless, one shouldn't rebuke those who are lenient with harshness.
Those American dolls, forget it.
Let's go to the next page. The Shevet HaLevi is a little bit more stringent. He was also asked, Mishi Yesh Lo Buba. He says, Pupa, B'loshon Aslan, like a pup. In German means doll, right? B'toch Beso im Yadayim V'raglayim, with hands and feet. Haim Chayv L'pogmot. Do you have to put a pgam in it? Do you have to distort it somehow? Do you have to deface it? Kimavur B'Shulchan Aruch, Yoredeya. Sheyesh Isser Shehiu Mishum Chshad, because if you keep it and you're suspicious of what is Afal Pisha B'Zman Hazeh, Eina Derech Lavos Tzur Se'elu. It's not common practice to worship a dummy Komokam because of a Ramah. Shadayin Yesh Kan Isser Shehiu. You can't retain it. So that was what the question that was asked to Rav Nissen, to the Shevet HaLevi, to the Rav Wozner. He asked, Davar Pasha Tutsur Shlema Uponim Sholem the Osir Lahashayis V'tzrach Livkom Uponim Kaloch. He says, a whole body, or even a whole face, you can't retain, and you have to deface it. He was also asked, Maskrim Livkom Chelik Ma'aponim, is it enough to just do a piece of the face like the eye or the nose? O Shemeheyos to Mavur Bepiskei Tshuva, Shafilu Barosh Golem Yesh Isser Shehiyah B'chol Aguf, that if you had some kind of like a statue of the whole body, Shemalom Maspik, maybe it's not enough just to do the face. The Lagara Me Rosh Ogol Kagolem Shosur. So again, that was asked of him, and he said, Mashachirush Agoin Yaivitz, the Gam Rosh Golem the Otum and Guf Sholem Osur, that if you had some kind of goylem like like a mannequin, is a mannequin with a whole body, Osur. V'lomid Zeh Midvei HaRosh, Kol Adolim Chokim Ozeh, Ayin B'Tshuvas Marid, the Loki Yaivitz, and B'Meila HaRosh Medaber Me parts of Ponim Mamish. Even if it was just a face, it would not be prohibited, unless it was fully standing up. If he wants to say that even if you had a whole statue, as long as you did the face, you defaced the face, it would be permitted. Okay. Rav Nissen Karelitz in Chut HaShani says, Mishi yesh lebuba shlema, afilu rak harosh levad, even if just the head, if it's sticking out, you have to make them, you have to deface it. So again, he argues with Rav Ovadia. Ovadia Yosef said there was no problem with it. The Shevet HaLevi and the Rav Nissen Karelitz, both Ashkenazi poskim, seem to be more machmir. One should not scream or protest too greatly against people who keep this. Remember the Chayei Adam and the Chayei Adam, Rav Danziger, is the same as the Chochmas Adam. The Chochmas Adam is on Yoredeya. The Chayei Adam was on Orach Chaim. We all used Orach Chaim before the Mishnah Brura. Many of us remember using the Chayei Adam. Right. So that's the Chochmas Adam. So there is no suspicion for Vodazor today to make them. So I'm just going to go to the bottom. The Yalkut Yosef holds that although buying dolls is permitted in principle, it is preferable not to purchase dolls that consist of a full-length person, and ideally a Jew should not participate in the production of these dolls either. And in his words, those that have the minhag to buy for their children dolls to play with, like Barbie, right? A full body. They have to rely on to be matir. But he still says you should be stringent and not buy a doll that has all the parts. For example, the upper body alone, it's better. Or sometimes you look at a doll, it's like only the side of it. Like a profile. And he says, "Mutter liskor bahem, limkor v'liknos." You can do business with it. Gam betavnis adam shalom b'chol, even if the doll was fully human form. Aval lachatchila in lahakel basiyosin, you should not be making. So the issue is making these things, having them, retaining them, selling them is not the problem. V'shomer nafsho yirchok mehem. But if you want to be a shomer nafsho, if you want to protect your soul, stay away from them. V'osam batei charoshas, the factories. How seems os lachatchila man lemalon. Who says that they're doing it b'ratzon chachamim? We really should tell them to be stringent. Shouldn't rebuke those who are lenient harshly. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah indicated that images of the moon formed in order to study the laws of Kiddush HaChodesh are permitted. The poskim discuss whether this permissive ruling applies only in the case of Kiddush HaChodesh or to any purpose other than worshiping them. You're in a science class, you're whatever. Rav Chaim David HaLevi, in Aselech HaRav, rules that if it is clear that one's intention is not for idolatry, it's permitted due to a variety of considerations. But Rav Karelitz, the Chut Hashani, permits doing so in order to teach about the creation of the world or Yosef's dreams. But Rav Moshe, which we're going to read now, permits only in certain situations. Im yesh isra b'tziyur, he was asked, Im yesh isra b'tziyur echama levana shetinok hasoisim. A child is in school, and the child makes a picture of the sun and the moon.
You're saying sun, is it sun or moon, or is it, what do you mean?
Or chama
Okay.
ulevana. Your child comes home and they make a
Yeah,
picture
my
of the sun.
granddaughter was making a picture of the sun the other day.
This is exactly what Rav Moshe was asked. Bidvar atinoikas shemitzarin bidyo uvitzavat tzuras levanachama. The child with either ink or paint is making a picture of the sun and the moon. Now, why is Rav Moshe worried about this? Because we learned the Gemara last week that pictures of the sun and the moon are potentially problematic. Now, im yesh mamish dimyon lahalavano lachama, if there's real comparison, shanashim gdolim yom rishut tzuras chama levana, if an adult could recognize that this is the sun of the moon, yesh la'osram la'elu shabal lechinuch. If they've reached the age of chinuch, that means 6 years old, 7 years old, we're talking about chinuch where a father is required, or parents are required to be mechanech their children in mitzvahs. We're not talking about when they reach, so 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old is when we would hold that there would be a din chinuch. You have to separate them from that at that point. That's if the sun and the moon could be recognized by an adult.
Right, when we say recognize, we're talking that it has to be very realistic looking, or I don't know what the kid meant.
He said very soon.
Well, you make the sun
He
with
said,
those little things in the sun.
Shanashim
the
gdolim,
waves.
Shanashim
Is that
gdolim
al-
yoim
is that
rishut
allowed?
tzuras.
She was
If
doing
an
that.
adult
She
can
was
recognize it as the
Ernie,
sun and the moon.
classic picture, the Hasidim are being Mekadesh Levana, Mekadesh Levana. And you have the picture of the moon, it's in the painting. There are many, many pictures like that. Well, what do you do with that?
So hang on. V'habena shach biyoredeya, u'bena taz kos v'degam tzuras chama levana, kipshuton osir la'asos. To make a realistic image of the sun and the moon is prohibited to do. Now, maybe it's done in an impressionistic way where you can't really identify that it's the
Again, a
sun
kid
and the moon.
make a drawing of a person, a stick figure.
But-
We'll recognize that's a person.
But if he's 4 or 5 years old,
Right.
he's not. You know, we're talking about if they have reached an age where they're going to be mechanech in mitzvahs.
Look,
I guess my question is,
I
how
question.
realistic does that have to
I don't
be?
understand.
Just that
He
it-
said, "Shanashim gdolim yoimru shehu tzuras chama levana." It's exact. I'm just reading Rav Moshe's
I
words.
told my granddaughter, make a picture of the sun with a little island, with a little tree and stuff like that. So she drew the sun and she put the
But
little rays
next
to the
time,
sun.
next
Is that
time,
okay?
next time you're going to tell her to do the island and the water, but without the sun.
It's not the same.
Cloudy day.
Hawaii has no sun.
Let's just read Rav Moshe. Let's just see. Let's just see
They,
what.
don't know,
Rav,
they had a horrible childhood, these guys. They don't know.
let's just see what Rav Moshe
Is it
says.
like an image, like if we took a picture of the sun, oh, it's a very bright whatnot, or is it just anything that's representation of the sun? Well, you wouldn't know that's what
No,
What is it?
because it says.
What is this about?
An adult.
Zara?
Yeah,
That's what he said.
we had the Gemara last week. Do you remember
I
Rabbi
understand,
Gamliel?
I know.
Okay, let's see what he says. Aval vaday dehu rakesh yesh dimyon mamish. He says it's got to be a pretty good likeness of the sun or moon. Sharov tinokos lo shaykh shiasukein. The children are not going to do it that way. It's got to be an act like a painter,
Like a painter,
like a really good painter that makes
Yeah,
the sun and the
with
moon.
yellow lines.
No, we're not talking about that.
How about Uranus?
V'im lo kain eino klum. So Rav Moshe says, Walter, that if it's not an accurate depiction, it's not a problem. V'hu kamoshe hevi mi sefer yadak tana derak in be'eni abriyos dom lachama osir. Only if people would see it's similar to the sun, otherwise it's not prohibited.
If you buy a picture of the sun and a picture has.
Well, you said the problem is making it. We didn't say that. We said you couldn't retain one if it was bolate, but if it was flat, we said you could retain it. But then we had different opinion. Now listen what Rav Moshe says here at the end. Aval b'shvil ze lo tov lelamed letinokos lasos tzurei chama levana. In general, don't teach even when they're young to make pictures of. Because you know what's going to happen? They're going to grow up. They're going to be a great artist, and they're going to make a picture of someone which is prohibited. The rotzim shilandu berov zman lasos tzir adomis mamish says ehu dover osir. V'lama lanu lalamdam kevin shikishu litzaratem.
This? Because I'm curious. All the little kids in kindergarten drawing pictures of the sun.
You go to camp, let's say arts and
But it's
crafts.
not accurate. I mean, it's
Right.
one dimensional,
The one that
and it's
the
not.
one that a child does, it's got to be it's got to be like the way an artist would paint it. That's what he said. That's the
Then
last
comes
part
the
that he said.
question about that.
Let's review
There's no answer.
summary of Hilchas Avodah Zarah
The note from Rav Shach is very good at the bottom.
regarding using
The footnote, the very bottom.
Rav Herschel Schechter is cited by Rav Zilberman in the article mentioned in the previous footnote as agreeing with the approach of Rav Feinstein, although he did permit drawing pictures of the sun partially covered by clouds. So let's review. Using a non-Jewish calendar. There's a positive mitzvah to use the Jewish calendar, which particularly rebukes those who use the secular calendar according to Chassam Sofer. The Maramshik says those who use the secular date transgress a Torah violation. Rav Avadia Yosef and Tzitz Eliezer of Waldenberg, there is no prohibition according to the letter of the law, especially if one doesn't mention that this is according to the Christian count. Rav Usher Weiss and Minchas Osher said we should be Malamed Schus on those who use the secular calendar, especially for practical and technical purposes. So there is no problem with that. Rav Tzvi Cook said use of the secular calendar is a violation of mentioning other God's name and is a degradation of the Jewish people. And for those who are lenient, is it better to use the numerical value or the name of the month? So Rav Ovadia Yosef said it's preferable to say September, as only the months in the Torah have a numerical value, like Chodesh Harishon, Chodesh Hasheni. But the Tzitz Eliezer says use the number, not the names, because the names refer to a pagan god, like Augustus Caesar, August. Okay. What about receiving charity from Gentiles? So the Gemara, the Shulchan Aruch said it's prohibited to receive tzedakah from Gentiles in public due to Chilul Hashem. The Shevet Levi said even in private there's a minor Chilul Hashem. The Tzitz Eliezer, although there are those that are lenient regarding a real pagan, one should be stringent. And the Dvar Chevron, one cannot accept from Christian groups, as their objective is to missionize, unless it is clear that they are doing it simply because they admire and respect Jews. I would say that I need. The Dvar Chevron was Rav Dov Lior of Kiryat Arba. He's the Rav of Kiryat Arba. Pictures and drawings. It's prohibited to make these images biblically. Rabbinically, it's forbidden even to retain them, but commentaries dispute which images are included. The heavenly images of the sun, moon, and constellations, if they are raised three-dimensional,
Right.
all opinions prohibit making them. Tosfos, the Rambam, and the Ramban prohibit retaining them. The Ritva permitted retaining them, even if they are raised. But if they are flat, two-dimensional, which is, I think, most people have those kind of paintings, Tosfos, Rambam, and the Ramban prohibit drawing them. But all opinions permit retaining them. The Ritva permits even drawing a flat, two-dimensional item, even of the sun, moon, and constellations. Images of people. So if they are raised three-dimensional, Tosfos and Rambam debate among the Achronim whether they permit making or retaining them or not. The Ramban said it's prohibited to make them or retain them. The Ritva said it's prohibited to make them, but you can retain them. And if they are images of people, if they're flat, Tosfos and Rambam permit you to make them and retain them. Ramban is prohibited to make them, but you could retain them. And the Ritva, you can. So everybody holds you can retain flat, two-dimensional pictures of people, no problem. And other images, so we have two categories: sun, moon, and constellations, and people. Those are the things we have to be concerned about halachically. Now we have other things: islands, mountains, clouds, flowers, houses, right? All the other things that people paint. If they are raised three-dimensional, Tosfos and Rambam permit you to make them and retain them. The Ramban, remember, he was the most machmir of everybody. You can't permit, make, or retain. And Ritva says you can keep both. So there's certainly opinions to rely on. If they are flat, all opinions permit making and retaining them. Now the Shulchan Aruch rules like Tosfos and Rambam, which is the most lenient opinion. So we have all the lenient opinions. The Taz rules like the Ramban, and the Shach posits that a flat picture is similar to a sunken picture, which is problematic. May one be photographed? So Rav Kook said, although there are pious individuals who are stringent, the basic halacha according to the Shulchan Aruch, that's permitted, but preferable not to take a full body picture. The Taz says there are those that are stringent even regarding just a picture of your head, your face. And we brought the machlokas between the Mishnah halachas, who said that a person can't object to taking pictures of themselves, and Chut Hashani said no. Regarding dolls, Rav Ovadia Yosef said it's permitted to make them as well as to retain them. Rav Nissen Karelitz said it's prohibited to make them but permitted to retain them. Rav Vosner said it's prohibited even to retain them. And remember, he said you have to make, if you retain them, you got to make a defect in it. And the Yalkut Yosef says it's preferable not to buy a complete doll. And we brought that you could. It's smart to prevent a child who's reached the age of chinuch to draw pictures of the sun and the moon. But for purposes of teaching about creation, the Chut Hashani permitted.
So if the Ritva permits drawing sun, moon, and constellations, why does Rav Moshe prohibit us from allowing children to draw them?
No, because the Shulchan Aruch was not lenient regarding that. Remember, we paskined regarding sun and the moon. The Tosfos, Rambam, and Ramban prohibit drawing them if heavenly images, even if they are two-dimensional. So we're more machmir regarding the. That's why I said there really you have to think about two categories: sun and moon, images of people, and everything else. And then I would I would just refer back to that page. That's a good summary page, which really shows the halacha. Okay. Again.
An esrog box with a.
Say it again.
An esrog box with the relief of a person holding a little of an esrog would be no good.
Or animals on it.
Well, animals is not a problem.
Animals not a problem?
Oh,
You're saying you've had something where there's an image of a person.
Relief of people with, yeah.
I'll have to go back and check.
Okay.
I'll follow that out.
You know what?
Okay,
I have
just
a Seder plate that I think has that from 1800.
That's what Chukah Tanoim.
All right.
okay. Page 89. We're going to go through the Tanakh, the Gemara, and the Rishonim. Hopefully, we'll get to some of the Achronim today regarding Chukas Hagoyim. Some very interesting practical applications of this halacha. So, if you look at the Yored, if you look at the Shulchan Aruch, we're basically going through the Yored Deah from the beginning as we march through. We started with Avodah Zarah. That's how Yored Deah begins. Right after Hilchas Avodah Zarah, you have the laws of interest, ribis. But since the laws of interest are more associated with monetary matters, the Tzurim Rabbanan is going to deal with it when we learn Choshen Mishpat. Now, after the laws of interest, the Shulchan Aruch discusses law regarding Chukas Hagoyim, which is now what we're going to deal with. As a member of the chosen people, a Jew has a unique standing in the world. Therefore, his dress and conduct should reflect the status and may consequently differ from that of non-Jews. This is the basis for the prohibition of Chukas Hagoyim, following the statutes of the Gentiles, as explained by the Sefer HaChinuch. Right, the Rishon, he says Mishar Sheh Mitzvah, the root of the mitzvah, Kedei Lehisrachek Mehem. We want to stay away from the non-Jews. V'lignos Kol Hanagosehem, and sort of all of their behaviors. We want to show that it's not correct. V'afil b'malbush, even in dress.
Where's the source that you're supposed to stay? I mean, you're
So-
not supposed to fraternize, but on the other hand, how you're supposed to be an Or Lagoyim if you aren't even connected in any way, shape, or form?
So he's showing that following the Chukos Hagoyim is going to lead to that. But it doesn't mean we can't interact with them. And we're going to define that. So the Torah stresses a number of times. Larry asked the question that we always should be asking on every of these: what are the sources? And we're going to go through the sources. The Torah stresses a number of times that one must not imitate the actions of Gentiles. In Vayikra, we just learned it in Achrei Mos. K'masei Eretz Mitzrayim asher yivshaftem ba lo sasu, u'k'masei Eretz Canaan asher ani mevi eschem shama lo sasu, u'v'chukosehem lo selechu. Don't go in their statutes. Rashi, what does that mean? So K'masei Eretz Mitzrayim, magid shemaseim shel Mitzrayim v'shel Canaanim mekulkolim mikol ha'umos. So Rashi wants to say that the actions of the Egyptians and the Canaanites were sort of the most degenerate of all nations. And also, in fact, where the Jewish people were living was worse than anything. That the nations whom Israel conquered when they came in with Yoshua were even the worst. What's uvechukoseim lo selechu? Now, mahiniach hakosum shelo omar. The psukim have said a lot of things. It says like this: chover chaver. don't like make amulets, don't follow snakes. The Torah itself gives us many different things. Don't bring your child into Molech. These are specific things that the Torah prohibited us from doing. So now Rashi is explaining, then what is this coming to add? When the Torah gave very specific things to stay away from, then why are they then saying, "Uv'chakosayim lo salechu"? So that's what Rashi is explaining. They're social customs. By the way, he says the word nimusos, nimus, comes from the Greek word, meaning law, tradition, or custom. Now we use it to mean like nimusim, manners, but it's originally a Greek word, which means like their customs. Hachakukim lahem, that are well entrenched by them. Listen to what he gives examples. Kagon tartios v'stadios, theaters and stadiums. Rab Meir Omer elu darkei amuri shemar chacham. He argues. He says it's darkei amuri. I want to read this footnote because it's a very good footnote. In ancient Greece, the theaters and stadiums were part of the culture's idolatrous rituals, as evidenced by discoveries in many archaeological digs throughout Israel, where large Gentile populations existed in some cities. Theater developed in Athens, Sophocles, right, Euripides, right, Aeschylus, right. This is 400 BCE, 500 BCE. It's about the time of Plato and Aristotle when the Greek playwrights were active.
Time of Tanoim or before?
No,
Tanoim?
no. Remember, 400 BCE is, remember, the temple was destroyed 586 BCE. They came back 526 BCE. You're talking about Ezra, Sofer, and Nehemiah, right? So technically Ezra is a Tana. Reb Shimon.
It's in between the two.
Between Ezra and
So
Nehemiah and-
the first Hillel is 100 BCE. Not even so. Hillel is a time of Hordus, is 0 CE. Okay?
Yeah, but that's.
So you're talking about 300-400 years before. Okay. So theater developed in Athens as part of 3 annual festivals celebrated in honor of the god of wine, Bacchus, like the Bacchanalia, which was done, During the festivities, various kinds of plays were shown, music was composed, and different types of competitive competitions took place. Most of these events revolved around stories from Greek mythology. The stadium also developed as a place used in the festivities for idolatrous rituals in ancient Greece, later spread to Rome. They were used primarily for sporting competitions, whereby every 4th year these competitions took place in a different city. These sporting events, in fact, formed the origins of the modern Olympic Games. However, at the time, they served as part of the idolatrous worship of the Greek gods, and participants would begin the tournament by bowing and swearing to a statue of the gods in the stadium. It should be noted that each city would sponsor the cost of the participants in the festivities, as well as tickets for those who could not afford them. This practice illustrates the importance of these festivities in Greek culture. In addition, this was a time dedicated to giving honor to the gods, and all that were sentenced to death were spared that month. Moreover, ceasefires were pronounced in order to allow people to attend. The ceasefires were also important because the guests and participants were considered holy in the eyes of society, and it was forbidden to harm them. This in turn resulted in the institution of a prohibition to bring any weapons into the city. Against this background, it is readily understandable why Chazal included such practices as Chukos HaGoyim.
So you can't go to the bowl game.
No, we're gonna,
Where
let's,
does it say, where does he get this from? What's the source for this?
we just read look,
What you just read.
the source was the Pasuk in Vayikra that says, "Uv'chakosayim lo selechu."
Yeah.
Then we analyzed what does Kamasei Eretz Mitzrayim. Rashi gave us some shot. Then he said, "What is uv'chakosayim lo selechu?" Rashi said,
Adding something else.
"Elu dvar kagon dvar hokim lahem kagon tartios vatstudios." So it's
Where
Rashi.
does he get this explanation now in this footnote?
Oh, that's just historical. That's just historical facts that they know about Greek. It's a Greek historian. Now, there are other psukim. Let's just read the other psukim. V'lo selchu bechukos hagoy, asher ani mishalech miftechem, ki es kol eila asuva kutz bahem. Another pasuk that says you shouldn't go bechukos hagoy. Then in Dvorim, Hishar melacha, pentinokesh achreim, you'll be attracted to them. Achrei hisham dam, even after they've been destroyed mipanecha. Upentidrosh Elohem lemor. You will seek out their gods. Eicha yavdu hagoyim ha'eles Elohem ve'esekem gamani. So you have to stay away from their gods. Then it says, Lo shishtachavel Elohem, v'lo savdeim. Here comes the three words. V'lo saseh kemasehem. Don't do like what they do. So I would bring up, for example, 1964, we see the first picture of the Beatles, and everyone starts wearing a Beatles haircut. So that becomes a custom. So we're going to see, that certainly would fall under Chukos HaGoyim. And if we could have worn a Beatles
Now,
haircut,
if we define Chukos HaGoyim as something associated with Avodah Zarah,
we're going to see him. Right now, he said, we're going to analyze more, but the Chukos HaGoyim is what their social customs are.
Let me ask you,
So their dress, their type of haircut.
how's it possible that all the black frocks and everything that came from all the aristocracy of
The Weissazokin.
Eastern Europe?
Well, the Weissazokin was clearly, take a picture of George Washington. He wore white socks up, right? That was the prince wore them.
But White Sox is it's a different reason. I mean,
No, white socks was royalty. The pictures of the earls and the dukes.
No. If you go to Europe, it's still today. You went to Russia. I used to go to Russia in the 1990s. People still put their
That fur hat on.
Yeah, they still put their pants, the socks over
Inside.
their pants.
Inside.
Why? Because it was full of mud, and if you had to wash your pants, it's much more expensive than washing your socks.
But you see, that's a practical, we're going to see very soon.
Yeah, but
Things that the
that's
Goyim
the
do
Minhag
for
came
practical
about.
reasons is not an issue.
That's a gear, that's how that.
That's how the Minhag came about. But the black frocks with the hats and everything, this was
Everybody wore
aristocracy of Eastern Europe was walking
I
around
don't,
like that.
okay, we'll see if we deal with
And
that.
that became the Minhag of ours.
Now, what did the Ramban say when it says Lo saseh k'maseim? Yitachen shehi azor midarkei Amori shemanu chachamim. The Gemara is going to list a whole bunch of things that the Amorim did. K'mo shehiz b'mokom acher v'kosim lo solechu. V'armu elu darkei Amori shemanu chachamim. And we'll see what these are. Now, the Sifra gives us more of the essence of the prohibition. The Sifra,
what is Amori particularly? I mean, we started off with
the Darkei
Kanani
Amori.
and Egyptians and Canaanim. So Amori is part of Canaanim?
they're one of the 7 nations. Okay. They were apparently the worst. So, the various midrashic literature, we know Medrash Rabbah, Mechilta, Sifra, Sifri. This is Tanaitic literature. This is literature that was written by Tanoim from the time of Bayis Sheni, Ezra Sofer, going all the way through. And these midrashim were written to explain psukim by psukim. So Breshis Rabbah, if you go to, it follows pasuk by pasuk. But it was a different structure of teaching halacha than what eventually we had in Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi. They did it based on psukim, and it was all halacha. There's some Agada there as well, but the midrashim it's called midrash halacha, because the way that you were going to remember, Breshis Bar Lakim as Arts, and you were taught a number of halachas regarding that pasuk, etc., etc. Later on, Talmud Bavli is organized thematically. You have Masechta Shabbos, you have Masechta Yuma regarding Yom Kippur, and Masechta Psochim. There you got psukim from all over the place. It's not that, and there was a debate raging over the first 300-400 years after the Churban Abayis. What would be dominant? Eventually, Talmud Bavli became dominant. That method of transmitting oral Torah, because the midrashim are very similar. It's just they were done pasuk by pasuk as opposed to subject by subject. So when Rabbi Yehuda Nossi eventually, what did he do? He organized everything subject matter. And then the Gemara, commentary of the Mishnah, you have to recognize what the Midrash Halacha are. So the Sifra is Midrash Halacha on Sefer Vayikra. Why do we know that? Because Aleph at the end of the word is always Hey, so it's like Sifra because Ha-Sefer. And the Sefer, like the pinnacle is Sefer Vayikra. Because
There's two before it and two after.
well, also there's two. It's like a pinnacle. Like Jonathan Sachs always talks about Sefer Vayikra, like a novel.
Climax.
It rises up and then it goes down, and then he thinks that's why Vayikra is a pinnacle. Sifri is Midrash Halacha on Sefer Bamidbar. So on the Sifra on Achrei Mos,
And what's Koros Kahanim?
also in Vayikra. but a different one, different than Sifra, different authors. There is a Gemara that will say, who wrote Sifra Rabbi Yehuda? Who wrote Sifri Rav Yossi? There's a Gemara somewhere, I remember, that listed who the authors of all the...
The Sifra is Vayikra?
Sifra is Vayikra, yeah, and Sifri is by Midbar. So it says, Uvechukuseim lo seilechu, v'chimayin yechakosov shlo amru. Now what are you seeing here? Rashi, in his commentary on that pasuk, is virtually quoting the Medrash. We know Rashi isn't usually, when Rashi makes a comment, it's not his own comment, he's quoting a Chazal. And this is a perfect example. He's literally lifting it from the Sifra. V'lo kfar nemar, lo yimatzeh b'cha mavir b'no v'ito ba'esh. And he says a beferish pasuk, don't walk your children through the molech fire. By the way, molech was not throwing your child into the fire. They had like parallel bonfires, and you would walk through them. That was molech. Being mavir your child through molech, it was a avodah zarah, but you didn't throw them into the fire. So it already says lo yimatzeh b'cha mavir b'no v'ito ba'esh v'chulei v'chover chaver, one who divines divinations. You know, we'll see what that is. So what does that add? So when Sidney asked, where did we get it? Rashi got it from the Sifra. Now, shelo tinchor, nechira is killing an animal without shechita, like tearing out they would just tear like the carotids and the jugular veins. We have that in Masechta Chulin. If you killed through nechira, it's a nevela. Now, so they gave a couple of meanings to nechira here. The usual meaning of nechira is to stab an animal without shechita. But the Ravid had a version of the text reading lo tin kor, which he interpreted to mean that the prohibition is to look in a mirror for the sake of beautifying oneself. He explains that this is practiced by the Gentiles who make themselves available for licentious behavior and wish to draw the attention of women by, beautifying themselves in the mirror. So, or shelo tigdal tzitzis, don't grow your hair in a certain fringe. V'shelo tispor koimi shefa, or they had remember the pictures of like Friar John, Friar Tuck. They would have they have hair and they would be bald around it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what this.
Also style.
It's a style. So that's why I mentioned the Beatles haircut, because at that time the style was to wear it that way.
I mean, it's just, the haircut and the manner of kumi is are church people, or I'm saying it was just a modern style in the culture.
No,
not
we'll see.
related to
We'll
church.
see. There it had to do with church people, with avodah zarah. Okay. Maybe, but that's all there. Those are their laws. They're not our laws. Talmud Lomer es mishpatai tasu ves mitzvosai tishmuru lechas b'mani Hashem lechem. Adayin yesh tikva liyetzer hara laharer v'lomer shalahem noim mishalanu. We have our own things, but we have a yetzer hara that is telling us that their ways and customs are nicer than ours. Talmud Lomer ushmartem basisem ki hichach maschem uvinaschem.
That's the whole story.
Well, if the government law says you cannot wear a beard,
Say it again?
okay, if the law states you cannot grow a beard,
Hang on.
you're allowed to shave your beard.
How about wearing a yarmulke?
Right, same thing.
Hang on.
Right.
Hang on. This is the issue of not wearing a yarmulke. The shaila is: are you participating in chukos hagoyim? Because non-Jews take their head off when they go, like when they go into a not just in a church. If you go to a theater, and they don't wear hats anymore, but in the 30s, 40s, they would take off their hat, or they go somewhere, they remove their
That
hat.
was just so the person behind can see.
It wasn't. It was also nimusim. It was part of their
You
nimus.
walk into any of the fancy golf clubs, and you walk into even.
Oh, you can't. You got to take your hat off.
They make you take your head off.
Right. So we would not be. That would be usher for us to do.
To go there.
No, to take our hat off. In that, for example, even those of us who might not wear a yarmulke all the time, but if we walked into a place where you were wearing something, they made you take it off, you would not. You couldn't. You would not. Better not to stay there.
You're that way.
What about the ball game? Please remove your hats for the national anthem.
We'll see. I think that's going to be a problem based on Rav Moshe. We're gonna learn the Rav Moshe.
Is it Mishum Eva if you take your hat off?
Now,
If you don't take your hat off.
let's define the prohibition. Up until now, as Larry has pointed out a number of times, the prohibition is very hazy. We haven't really drilled down yet what really is the prohibition. What type of activities are included? What's not? The Talmud of Masechta Sanhedrin provides us at least a partial picture when it states that even if something falls into the category of Chukas HaGoyim, if it's written in the Torah, it isn't prohibited. So we're going to see in a minute that they used to burn, when the king died, they would burn furniture, burn clothing, they would burn things. So is that a Chukas HaGoyim? Well, there is in Nach a case where the Jews did it as well for one of the Jewish kings. So that's what's meant here. If it's an act that's written in the Torah where we were doing it as well, then it's not prohibited. So that's already one geder that's going to be lenient for us. That if something that's mentioned in the Torah, then it may not be prohibited. Let's see it inside. In Masechta Sanhedrin it says, Mitzvah Saner Rogim. So the Sanhedrin is dealing with the 4 capital punishments. Skila, Sreifa, Hereg, V'chenek. Right? So skila is stoning, sreifa is burning, but burning, they made them swallow molten lead. They burnt them from the inside, like Nadav Avihu. It wasn't burning like they did for the witches in Salem. So skila sreifa, hereg is having your head cut off with the sword. And chenek was choking. They would back you up against a wooden post and put a garret around your head with a piece of wood, and they would just turn the wood until they choked you. That was chenek. And by the way, that, according to all opinions, is the most lenient way of being killed. Because skila, sreifa, hereg, v'chenek is listed in the order of severity. Skila was thought to be the worst, although there's a machlokas. Some say sreifa is worse. So there was a machlokas in Tanoim in Sanhedrin regarding that.
Next time we have to choose.
So, hereg, now, the main avera in Besdin, which required hereg, was adultery. That means if you lived with Eshes Ish, you were beheaded. Virtually all the other averas regarding arais was chenek, if it's and any other capital punishment chenek, except the ones that mention, for example, Shabbos is skila, Avodah Zarah is skila. If you live with your mother-in-law or something, sreifa, or daughter-in-law, sreifa. Those were more fine. But hereg is the main adultery avera. So mitzvah saner rogim.
Do you have any records that ever happened? I mean,
Well, there's a chazal that say if Bezdin killed 1 in 70 years, it was called a killing Bezdin, like a hanging judge, 1 every 70 years. We know why that is. Not because you needed 2 Eidim to warn them, toch kedei dibor, before they were about to do the Avera. So that's why it was almost impossible for Bezdin to commit. Not that they didn't want to, but they couldn't actually carry it out. Now, Hayu Matizinus Rosha B'Sayif. They cut his head with a sword. Kederch Shamalchus Oseh. That's how the Goyish kings would do. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer Nivulhulo. That's degrading for a Jew to be killed that way. Elamanichinas Rosho al Asadin, the Koitzitz Bekufitz. You put his head on a sheet or on a block, and then you cut it off. Onrulo ein misa menuvels. Chazal responded, there's nothing worse than that. That's like a piece of meat that's being cut. What does the Gemara say on this? Tanya. I know that that's a degrading misa. And the non-Jews kill their people with cutting off, standing up and cutting somebody's head off. So we should not do that because of chukos hagoyim. What do the Rabbanon say? Kivan dechsiv sayiv baraisa. The Torah itself says to kill with the sword. Lo minayu kagamrina. We're not learning it from them. We have it in our own sources. So it's not a problem of Choseim lo selech. Say it again?
Does the Torah specify what you do with the sword? Maybe you run the sword through their heart or something. I mean, how do you know it's going
No, but it says it mentions cherev.
Okay.
It just mentions cherev. So since cherev is mentioned,
Anything to do with the sword is okay.
now
So
by contrast, the Gemara in Masechta Avodah Zarah presents a different picture. It says ve'elu edeim shelo dekachavim. It's in Avodah Zarah. It's dealing with can you do business with a non-Jew? There are certain days where, for example, the day before his holiday, or even the day of his holiday, you shouldn't do business with him because he's going to go thank his Avodah Zarah. So it's almost like a lifnei iver kind of thing. So it defined what are their Eidehem, what festivals we talk about. Kalanda, the Satruna, like Saturn, the Kartisim, the Yom Genosio Shel Malcheim, the birthday of the king, or that was his death, the Yom HaLeida, the Yom HaMisa, Divrei Rab Meir, the day, the coronation day, when he ascended the throne. Right. Divrei Rab Meir. The Chachamim Omrim, Kol Misa sheyesh bo sreifa, yesh bo avodas kochavim. If they burnt things when the king died, you should know that there's avodah zarah associated with that. V'she'ein bo sreifa, but let's say there's no burning, so there's no idol worship. So that's saying if it's a king's birthday, if the king died, but they didn't do burning, so that's not one of the Eideim that there would be a problem because there's no avodah zarah associated with it. Says Masechet Avodah Zarah on Daf Yud Aleph. We're analyzing this Mishnah. Michlal de Rav Meir Sovar comes out from here because Rav Meir just listed the names of the holidays. Loshna Misa Sheyesh B'Sreifa, Loshna Misa Shein B'Sreifa. It's all avodah zarah. It made no distinction between whether they were burning or not. Polchi Bol Avodas Kochavim, they're worshiping. Alma Sreifa Lav Chukahu. So the burning is not one of their chukos, implying that there's a machlokes tanaim here, that the Rabbanan Savri Sreifa Chukahi. So is burning a chuk or not? Fa'atanya Sorfim Ala Malachim V'lo Midakei Amori. It says we Klal Yisrael can also do burnings for the king, and it's not considered a problem. It's not a Darkei Amori. The ichukahi, and if it is it seems like the Chachamim, the Rabbanon are learning that burning is one of the chukos that going. Why can we do it? Anan hechitz arfina, vaksiv v'chosem lo salechu. So ela dekula amasreifa lav chukahi, ela chashivusahi. So the Gemara now is resolving the problem to say that the Rabbanon really don't hold that it's a choik. They're burning for chashiva, so there's no avodah zarah as well. And that's why we could do it. So according to the conclusion of the Gemara, both Rabbi and the rabbis hold that burning items to mark the death of the king is not considered to be a set practice of the Gentiles. And that's why our Baraisa permitted us to do it for our kings. As if it were, it would be forbidden due to Chukas HaGoyim. It's not. The Tosfos question, why did the Gemara here not explain that burning is not a violation of Chukas HaGoyim? Because the practice is mentioned in Tanakh. See Yirmiyahu, which is quoted in the continuation of the Gemara, where we did burning for one of our kings. So what Tosfos is asking, why did they have to resolve the Gemara's problem over there by saying, oh no, the Chacham also there don't hold that it's a chukah. Why couldn't they say it is a chukah, but it's something mentioned in our Tanakh? Just like we said, cherev, as long as it's mentioned in our Tanakh, even though the Gentiles do it, if it's mentioned in our Tanakh, it's not a problem. But yet, why did the Gemara have to resolve it that way? The Gemara could have resolved it by saying, it's written in Yirmiyah. That's what Tosfos asks.
Who was burned? Which king was burned? We burned a king.
No, not burned. They would burn out of mourning. They would take clothes out of their house or furniture and burn it as a sign of mourning. That's called. They were soifrin al pi malachim. Okay. So, which according to Gemara and Sanhedrin should be permitted. Based on this question, Tosfos develops an important principle as to defining the prohibition of chukas goyim. So, based on Tosfos' kasha, let's see another geder in chukas hagoyim. Lekach pirush ri, the trei gavni chuka havu. So this is like tzvei dinim. So this Brisker Torah 800 years before Reb Chaim Brisk, right? The concept that Reb Chaim, reinvented the oral law. It's not so. Tosfos is going to give a really brisker answer. There's really two types of chukah. Echad she'osim l'shem chok lavodas kachafim. So there's a practice that they did mamish for avodah zarah. Ve'echad she'osim l'shem das hevel ushtus shalahem. The Super Bowl, or the regular shtusim that people do, and then they do avodah zarah. V'achad b'shmaitzin ma'iri be'oisei chok she'osim l'shem avodas kachafim. And the sugya was dealing with a chok that was for avodah zarah. V'hachi perush Reb Meir sover sreifa lav chukahu avodas kachafim. Reb Meir held that it was bichlal not something that was done for avodah zarah. V'hachi parach That's why he asked. So if it really is a choik for avodah zarah, why are we burning for our kings? Or why does the Brisa say you can do it? So here's the kicker. So even though it's written in Yirmiyah, so now we have a getter. If it's a practice that the goyim do and it's for avodah zarah, even if it's mentioned in our Torah, it's prohibited for us to do. But the Gemara ended up saying it's really not a chok. But it is a Gentile practice, but it's like a mishagas. And later on in Dalet Misois, mishtoi choku mishum chashivus, it was done to honor somebody. Based on that, we don't learn it. We don't make a difference if it's written in the Tanakh. So here's another get here. So if there's a Gentile practice, but it's not done for avodah zarah, it's done for shtus or hevel, and it's written in our Torah, we can do it. If it's a chok that's done,
We did also for Shtus and Hevel?
even for shtus for hevel, if it's written in the Torah, it's permitted for us to do it because it's not considered that we learned from them. We would have learned it from ourselves.
It's a Shtus that we had ourselves.
It's a shtus that we had ourselves, and that's permitted for us to continue it. So, in summary, according to Tosfos, as we just learned it pretty well, activities performed by Gentiles as part of their idolatrous rituals are prohibited, even if they are written in the Torah. But activities permitted in folly and for no logical reason, if written in the Torah, they're not forbidden. Otherwise, they are still forbidden. Okay, we'll stop here. The tshuva of the Maharik is a major important rishon that we have to get familiar with because he was like the Mora Asra of Italy in the year 1400 to 1500, and the Ramah is always passing from the Shut HaMaharik, and the halacha always follows him. So this is, I think we had a nice, we understand the sources from the Psukim and the Gemara. Now we're going to see the Rishonim, and then we will see the Achronim and how we deal with today theaters and stadiums. What about the minig of Kaparas on Erev Yom Kippur? What about walking without a yarmulke? What about standing for the siren in Israel on Yom HaShoah? Isn't that something we learned from the Goyim? So we will continue next week.